We begin on the streets of East Boston, late in 1982. Ever since Ed Ascalillo had made the startling discovery that there was a parrot living outside near his home, he had wanted to bring it inside as a family pet.
Hi. How are you?
Elliot!
But he could never manage to catch the bird.
One night, my wife and myself had come home from a Christmas party, and it was the first snowfall that we had that night. And she had gone over and moved the trash barrel, and the parrot was there, and he started screaming. But it was so cold that when he tried to fly, his feet were actually frozen to the ground, and he couldn't move. We brought him into the hospital. The doctor says to me, either one or two things will happen. He'll die of pneumonia, or he'll have severe frostbite, and he'll lose all his toes. And sure enough, as time went on, his toes all started to turn black, and they fell off one at a time. Very rarely did he talk. He sounds more like a pigeon than a parrot. Come on, Elliot. By him being outside all this time, we think he started to mimic the pigeons that he was hanging with.
Not working.
We didn't want to clip his wings because when he started losing his toes, he wasn't going to have any way to get around. So we had a spare room, and we let him stay in there, and he used to fly around, and he managed.
On September 23rd, 1983, a major gas leak in East Boston changed everything.
It turned out to be the busiest night in the history of the Boston Fire Department, with well over 460 some odd runs in just a 5-hour period. The situation was caused by the malfunction of the gas regulator. The defective regulator allows that high-pressure gas to come right through the regulator and flood it through the whole system in that square mile of gas pipe.
Sweet dreams to you guys. See you later. Good night, Elliot.
Now, if somebody had a house in that area of East Boston that morning, the pilot light, which normally is just about visible, would have shot up as high as 18 inches. In some cases, the gas pressure actually blew the pilot out. Now the house is filling with gas. If you didn't have a pilot light, the gas overtakes the oxygen, and now you're breathing straight gas.
We used to shut his door. For some reason, we didn't shut his door that night, and they usually don't fly at night. I could hear Elliot screaming and flapping and just flying all around us. I could smell the gas, but I was incorporating it all into my dream.
Around 3 a.m., officials began evacuating the homes in the neighborhood.
Evacuate your houses, there's a gas leak. Evacuate your houses, there's a gas leak.
We had 3 major fires, all going at the same time, plus an additional at least 50 small flare-ups of fires.
The Ascalillos were sleeping so deeply, they never heard the police warning. Ed's friend, Billy Kenny, ran over to see if he could help.
It was a battle zone. It was chaos because people didn't know what happened. Fires started and nobody knew why.
In my dream, my brother-in-law was trying to light the stove, and it wouldn't. I was saying, don't you smell the gas? Light a match and get the pilot lit. Everything all happened at once, with Elliot screaming and flapping over us.
Elliot.
And that's when it woke me up.
What's that smell?
I was cold. My skin was clammy, and we could smell the gas. I wasn't sure if it was in the house, or if it was outside. All I knew was we just had to get downstairs and get the boys out.
Marie, don't turn on the light.
With gas filling their house, any spark from a light or a ringing telephone could set off an explosion.
I could hear it just like a steam pipe.
Eddie, hold on, pal.
Ed got Eddie, and I got Michael. They were still asleep. They were groggy. I don't know if they were overcome by the fumes or what, but they did not wake up until I got them outside.
The fire trucks were just arriving on the scene at these houses. Either they've had an explosion in their house or they've had a fire. They're out in the street. Ones whose houses were on fire were out to save their tail. Ones whose houses weren't on fire were out to help people whose houses were on fire.
I saw Ed go back into the house, and it upset me to think why was he going back there. But I just had to get my boys away from the house.
Irene took their kids to Eddie's mother's.
I didn't know what was happening because I just thought that was it. I thought I'd never have another house again.
Elliot!
Unlike many of their neighbors, the Ascalillos had their windows closed that night. The gas levels in their house were dangerously high.
I was really upset, but I had to get my boys safe. And as soon as they were in my mother-in-law's house, I came right back.
Where's Eddie?
I'll forget you out, Elliot. All right, everything's okay, pal. Take Elliot. Please, bring him over to my mother's house. I still have to shut the gas.
Eddie, get out of the house!
We were greatly concerned that somebody would come into a pent-up building, especially one that had no pilot light where the gas wasn't being burnt up and used, that somebody would come in, throw a light switch, and hit some residual gas that would be in the building. And it would have been disastrous.
I was screaming for him to get out. He just wouldn't get out, and I could still hear the gas. So I ran around the corner, and I grabbed a fireman.
Ed could not seem to turn off the gas main.
Eddie!
I was always one who thought about having fire extinguishers and smoke alarms in the house. I don't know where I got the strength. I had gone back over to the pipe, and I grabbed a hold of the pipe. I found the gas main, and I shut it. And there was no more gas in the house.
Eddie! He's running out! Eddie!
Everything's okay. And it really never dawned on me until afterwards. I says to myself, you know, if this was 20 minutes earlier, or we were not wakened by Elliot, then we'd have all been history.
By 11:30 that morning, the incident was over.
I heard about Elliot the Parrot afterwards. He saved that family, no question.
Acting Deputy Fire Chief Joe Houghton inspected the damage in the area.
We were so very, very lucky that there were no injuries and no deaths. The big thing, I believe, was the fact that people left their homes and got out on the street. They got out of the building.
Tony Canigliano.
7 years have passed, but the Ascalillo family will never forget what Elliot did for them.
If it wasn't for Elliot, I don't think we'd be here. He went on a mission to get us up, and that's just what he did.
Elliot's veterinarian, Marge McMillan, sees a logical explanation for his actions.
When birds are in captivity, they do begin to treat people like other birds. And because of birds' instinct to warn the flock through screaming, I think it may very well have been a way of alerting his family.
In 1988, Elliot became the first bird ever to receive the state's Pet Hero of the Year award.
He loves us, and we love him.